that's why you joined me and Melissa today, Mary on the on the on the comments. So we're making peanut butter bread. You preheat your oven to 350 degrees while it is messing with the technology, hopefully. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and start with our sugars and our eggs. So I think last time I was chatting about fudge brownies when we had John on last week, I talked about eggs and how I like separating my eggs or breaking them in a separate container before I put it into the mixer. And the reason why I do that is because if you crack an egg in a separate container and you accidentally have bits of broken eggshell in there, you can take it out before you add it into the actual mix. I hope that made sense to everyone. Because the last thing you want when you're eating baked goods is to take like a nice big bite of eggshell. That's not what I want. So I usually, or you can. Oh, what's going on there?
Oh, is this a good egg breaker thing?
Yeah, that's fine. You can use anything. I'm using just like a separate glass. You don't even need a bowl. You can use, so today, and actually, if I was being a good host, I would tell you all the things that you need today. If you've got a liquid measuring cup, we're using that today. You can actually crack directly into this because we're going to be using this as we go along. Less dishes to wash. So liquid measuring cup. Today, I can hardly see the comments, are like super far away from me today. So Mary is going to be extra special today and like figure all the answers because Julianne's eyesight is terrible from this distance. And everyone joining me on Facebook, we're live on Instagram, Julianne NYC, and we are with Melissa in California, Mary on the comments. So you can go ahead and use your liquid measuring cup because that's basically what we're using today. We're using the liquid measuring cup, and then these are your dry measuring cups. And just as a recap, these are for all your dry ingredients. Liquid measuring cup is better for your liquid. If you don't have both of these, one of these things can work. The only problem will be is you'll just be a little bit off in the measurements because the liquid cup is not the same as the dry measuring cup. The dry measuring cup is not the same as the liquid cup. But like anything else, you got to make it work. I'm assuming that was your oven, or was that my oven?
My oven is officially preheated. We are killing it. We're so good.
Oh my God, great. This is perfect. So the reason why, guys, as I change my camera angle, the reason why you want to go ahead and preheat your oven and make sure the oven is preheated before you put something in is because as it goes, and Mary's going to correct me if I'm wrong, if you put it in before it's heated all the way, obviously the oven is not the right temperature and your baked goods will take longer. It will not bake correctly. So we definitely want to hear that lovely beep for preheating. And because I've talked so much and we had technical difficulties in the beginning, if you did that, you probably are preheated like Melissa. So mine is still going. And we're going
I need all the Head Start I can get.
All right. So today, liquid measuring cup, because I'm lazy, I do not want to wash more than one dish. I am going to go ahead and just put everything in this liquid measuring cup, or you can use, as I mentioned, a bowl. We are going to go ahead and, or I guess if you really wanted to, you could crack it into the bowl, like I said, the bowl that you're using. Because I'm going to be crazy about it, I'm going to put it in this liquid measuring cup because I want to deal with eggshells. So everybody, we're using 2 eggs today. If you don't have eggs, that's okay because you actually don't need eggs for this recipe. The only reason why we're adding eggs is because we want this bread, I'm gonna put that in quotation marks, this bread, to be a little bit more cake-like. So if you don't want to use eggs today, the original recipe from 1932 required no eggs. So it actually is a vegan recipe. You don't have to put the egg in. The egg is gonna help in the rise though. So if you're not using eggs, I would recommend, actually it could be very delicious for your bread. Applesauce, all you need is the one small little container applesauce like this, or half a cup of applesauce, or you can use a whole banana and mash that up like you're making banana bread. You can do that too, and that could be equally delicious. Actually, I think adding either the applesauce or the banana could give it a lovely light flavoring of fruit that will be unexpected. So applesauce, banana, or you can do a flaxseed egg if you're one of those people that have flaxseed lying around, water, flaxseed. If not, and you're like Melissa and I, we're using eggs this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to crack my eggs and hopefully not make a giant mess. Let's find out.
Could you also use water and chia?
You can use water and chia. That's a good substitution.
Okay.
Mary should have an exact substitution, perhaps, of what she thinks. I think it's a tablespoon, almost equal. I think maybe it's more chia seeds and more flax seeds to water, just because of the way that the gel forms. But you're definitely, if you're using a flaxseed egg, and in some ways it's good that I'm rambling right now. If you're using a flaxseed egg, you have to let it sit for a second so it kind of congeals. That's a word I didn't think I was going to be using today, congeals. But you're definitely going to have to use a minute or two for that. But if you're like the rest of us, whatever you've got on hand. So today, eggs. Let's crack an egg. Hopefully we won't break it, you and I, So I'm going to crack my egg into the liquid measuring cup today, so I don't have to do as many dishes. I just cracked it on the countertop. And I'm just going to double check. I don't have any eggshells in my egg right now, which is great. If I did have eggshells in my egg, see how I'm holding these eggs. You can use this to scoop up your eggshells that might have fallen into your egg, and then just take it right out. And that makes sense, though, because it's been sitting in this little eggshell, the egg in the eggshell, and you know the liquid can like move around in it. So if you accidentally break any shells in your eggs, use the eggshell to go and scoop it out. If not, and you're good with that egg, you know, put it aside. So we're going to do 2 eggs. I'm going to crack my other egg.
Also, that was a very precise half. My egg did not.
See that? This is my prime example of what happens when you are doing. I splattered just a little bit. You probably maybe saw it on camera. On Casey, I'm so sorry. On your wonderful T-shirt, I've splattered egg. It's gonna have to go in the wash after this, but just a little tiny bit. So my measurements aren't gonna be totally off. But this is a great example of why you want to maybe do your eggs prior to doing anything else. So I'm gonna take my eggs that I cracked terribly into my bowl. So I've got 2 eggs. Everyone with me. I'm just gonna wash my hands real quick because that was just kind of.
I just washed mine too.
Don't contaminate everything with salmonella. So, okay. So we are going to go ahead and, as I fix my camera angle again, we have our eggs. So, to the egg mixture, into the bowl. You could be using a regular mixing bowl today and mixing all this stuff by hand. You can use, I'm using a stand mixer. Melissa, you're using a stand mixer as well, correct?
I am.
Oh,
this
fancy.
stand mixer is like as old as this recipe, I think. It is like from this era. That's the stand mixer I'm using.
That's a great stand mixer. I mean, if it works, guys. Like this is exactly what I was saying about like making sure or like doing things that work for you. If you've got a stand mixer at home, use the stand mixer. And then if you don't have a stand mixer, use a hand mixer. And if you don't have a regular hand mixer, use a spoon and a bowl. You know, you don't need fancy equipment. Back in the day, in the 1930s, I am sure a lot of people were using a bowl and like a whisk or a spoon. So I went ahead and pre-measured because I tried to be fancy about it. A 1/4 cup of sugar, and I added 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. You don't have to use brown sugar. You can use an extra 2 tablespoons of regular white sugar. So it's a 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of either sugar, white sugar or brown sugar, or you can be like, you know, fancy about it and do 1 extra tablespoon of white sugar, 1 extra tablespoon of brown sugar, just to see how it goes. I like using a little bit of brown sugar because it kind of gives you a caramel note to what you're eating. So, or what you're eating, not what you're reading. Although it can give you a caramel note if you're reading, I guess. So I'm gonna dump that straight into my eggs right now, and I'm gonna mix that all together with my handy dandy whisk. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I sort of want to break it up before I put it into the stand mixer. The stand mixer is going to do most of the job, and this is a great example of doing this by hand. I'm just using a whisk into my liquid cup, and this is just eggs and sugar. I'm actually going to put that now, all of this, into my stand mixer, because when we add the peanut butter, I think my stand mixer is going to do most of the greasy work. All right.
Have you added 2 tablespoons of brown sugar?
Yes, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of white sugar on top of the 1/4 cup of the white sugar. If you wanted to be extra fancy, you can use honey as well. Actually, I'm going to be daring. Let's try to be daring today, guys. I'm going to be daring, and I found some random honey sticks in my pantry. that I have no idea where I got them from. I'm assuming I must have gotten them with like a food kit or something at one point, that need to be used because apparently they're going to expire fairly soon. So I'm actually going to take this honey and I'm going to use it too. So I'm going to take the honey and I'm going to dump that straight in. So that makes me add a little bit more sugar and liquid, but I think it's going to give it like a little nice tone of texture and taste. You do not have to add honey. I'm adding honey. It's about a tablespoon, I would say. A tablespoon of honey. And I'm just going to add that to my egg mixture.
And we're just whisking the sugar and the egg, right?
Yes. So okay. My sugar and my egg is looking a little bit congealy. That's fine, right? Now I'm going to move everything into my stand mixer because I think the peanut butter is going to give me grief because it's sticky. So I'm going to go ahead and stick my entire egg mixture into my stand mixer. If you have a spatula handy, you can go and scrape out everything that's been in your liquid measuring cup with a spatula, which I'm going to do right now. Okay. All right. So we've got eggs, we've got sugar. You've used brown sugar, white sugar, honey, whichever you'd like to use. I put that all in the stand mixer. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add peanut butter. So let's add, this is my little caveat about the peanut butter today. Original 1932 recipe only had half a cup of peanut butter, but all the comments that I was reading about it said it wasn't peanut buttery enough. So everyone was upping the peanut butter. Anywhere from 3/4 of a cup to a cup of peanut butter. I want the flavor of the peanut butter to come through this bread because it's basically called peanut butter bread and I want it to taste like peanut butter. If you are not so keen on the peanut buttery taste and maybe you want like a light, hint of it, then I would go ahead and err on less peanut butter, maybe do 3/4 of a cup. Completely up to you. That's not going to necessarily change a lot of the ratios just because of how we're using the flour today. So anywhere from 3/4 of a cup to a cup of peanut butter. I'm using, you can use any peanut butter you've got. I've got this natural creamy Skippy that was in my cabinet. It is room temp right now, so it's easily grabbable out of the container and it's spreadable. If it is right out of the fridge, it's going to be a little bit harder to work with, but you can still do that if you keep your peanut butter in the fridge. Crunchy will give it a nice element. If you've got crunchy peanut butter laying around, that could be kind of tasty. I mean, you're like, putting in that stuff. So I'm going to go in a cup. I'm going to go ahead and measure it out actually in my dry measuring cup. And I'm going to put an entire cup. I almost feel like you could kind of eyeball this and don't have to be so exact with it. That they're drinking as they make this because this is such an experimentation, guys. Because like I said before, I have never made this. You're making this live with me for the first time ever. Whether or not this turns out well, we're all going to find out together. And I thank you for joining me on this experiment of trying to attempt to make this depression bread from a cookbook using our pantry items.
Yes.
Pantry items. Okay.
And you know exactly why you're here, Mary.
My fingers are full of peanut butter, and I'm kind of squeamish about it, so I'm going to wash my hands real quick while everyone tries to put peanut butter in their bowl. It's a good thing my sink is right behind me.
Is that Catherine?
I think Catherine's joining us from New Zealand. Catherine,
okay.
Welcome from New Zealand. I'm so glad. It's so early for you, I think, in the morning. Welcome to the baking with Melissa and I, where I have just added the peanut butter to the eggs and the sugar. And everyone, hopefully you're either ahead of me and Melissa because you're much better than we are and you've read directions. If not, we're now mixing the egg and the peanut butter together.
I feel like I'm going to make a cup and a half or 2 cups of peanut butter. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine.
It's going to be fine.
So fine.
Guys, at this point in this stage, if things are really messy, if things are kind of like, is that even going to come together? It looks weird. Like, we haven't added any flour yet. We have no way of over mixing this stuff. Like, this is just getting ingredients together. So you are fine. At this point, making mistakes is perfectly fine. Like, we can still fix it. So if it looks weird, like mine is looking kind of gloopy, that's fine. I'm going to put it on low on my mixer. I'm just going to put it down.
Doing that now.
Just until it's blended. if you're doing this by hand, use a lot of arm movement to go ahead and mix it together. But the liquid from the egg I realize you can't hear me as I scream over my stand mixer. The liquid from the egg should help it emulsify a lot better.
Should I mute myself with this like 1935 mixer over here?
It's the sounds of stand mixers everywhere moving. Okay. Mine is pretty incorporated, and I'm going to go ahead and lift. Here, and I'm going to take out this paddle just to show you. It's kind of gloopy. This is a good consistency. It basically looks like shiny peanut butter. You've made shiny peanut butter. Congratulations, everyone. We've made shiny peanut butter together. All right, this is the part where it's going to start getting a little bit messy. Let me see if I can reattach my paddle here. There we go. In the stand mixer, as a recap, to everyone following along who maybe has just joined, we have used eggs, we have used sugar and or honey and or brown sugar, and we have used peanut butter. It is all in our mix bowl. We have either mixed it by hand or we've used a machine like a stand mixer or your hand mixer, handy dandy hand mixer. That is what's going on in the bowl right now. The next thing you want to go ahead and add after you've done all that is the dry ingredients. So you can use a sifter and you can use an extra bowl, actually. Let's do all this together. I'm going to get a separate bowl. I'm going to get a separate bowl. There we go. I'm going to get a separate bowl because when you incorporate your dry ingredients, remember when I said we can't mess this up yet? Once we incorporate the dry ingredients, it's going to get a little bit messy.
We can mess it up.
We can mess it up, yeah. Because the problem with maybe with cakes and with breads in general is that if you are incorporating flour into it, that you are going to start mixing it too much. When you mix too much, rather, it incorporates gluten, and the gluten is what makes everything kind of like tough. So the more you mix it, it's going to get like tougher and tougher. And there's a scientific terminology, Mary will correct me since she is fielding comments right now, on why
messing it up.
why overmixing is bad. But because we're trying to make this more like a cake-like bread, we're going to try not to overmix because we want it to be a little bit light, right? I mean, I guess that's kind of, that doesn't make any sense, I suppose, Melissa, because we're making like a heavy, sugary bread and we want it to be light, but
yeah, that makes sense. I get it. Also, Mary thinks my mixer sounds like a dentist drill, which is fair. That's very fair.
It does. It sounds like it. So I've got just like, you can sift. You do not have to. Chefs everywhere are going to hate me. If you do not have a sifting tool, you do not have to do that. And this is just basically like a strainer. Like this is an everyday strainer. Like it's not even a official sifter. It's a strainer. You do not have to use this. You can add your dry ingredients straight. The only reason why you would sift your dry ingredients is because you don't want any lumps, which will happen with like flour and things like that when you start adding a whole bunch of ingredients.
Right, just like sprinkle it like a little.
Yeah, you can do that too. If you don't have a strainer, don't worry about it, guys. You can add it directly into a separate bowl. Just add all your ingredients into a separate bowl. The last couple times we've made things, I haven't even used this. You know what I mean? And I'm only doing it right now by hand because it's in front of me and I'm being a little extra today. I feel like I can be today. So we're going to take our flour. We're using 1 3/4 cup of flour. That measurement is 1 3/4 cups of flour. So,
and we're putting it right into the mix where the other stuff is?
A separate bowl. Or actually, you know what?
It's fine. I have a separate
bowl. If you've already done it. Okay. You separate bowl? Okay.
Yep.
All right. If you guys have, for those of you who might not have used a separate bowl, that's fine. Just don't mix it yet. If you've already started putting dry ingredients in the bowl, don't mix it yet.
I just want to say also for anyone who's in the Bay Area, I got this flour at a brewery. It's called Mare Island Brewery, and they are giving people like staples. So you can go buy flour for like, I think it's like $1 for a pound of flour and $1.50 for a pound of beans. They're trying to help people out. So you can go like get eggs and milk at a brewing company. And I think that's great.
That's amazing that they're doing that. I know that a lot of things like places in New York, like restaurants, are now kind of like pseudo groceries as people get rid of their pantries. So
yeah.
So again, everyone, a cup and 3/4. So I've only just got a cup. I'm making a mess on top of the eggs that I spilled. I'm leveling off. I'm doing the scoop and level off method. Lots of people like using the spoon. That's a little bit more accurate because it provides, make sure that you don't put too much flour.
So it should be totally flat to the top of this?
Yeah. I mean, about. Like, okay. It doesn't have to be, I mean, again, pastry chefs everywhere are just like, this is the wrong advice. But when you're making it at home and you're being rustic, I couldn't find my quarter cup. You're being rustic, it's like, you know, work with what you've got. Like maybe you don't even have a knife, or maybe you don't want to wash another knife. Use your finger. It's you. It's like you're eating it. Like, you know, you don't have to be super sanitary. You're not selling it. Well, I mean, I guess you could be selling it. Who would be buying it? Although delicious. Congratulations.
No one would buy mine. 0 people would buy my bread.
So I've got 1 3/4 cup flour that I'm sifting. You also want to add 3/4 teaspoon salt. I'm using standard sea salt. I think Melissa's going to be grinding her salt.
Yep.
Which is super fancy. And you know what? Her salt's going to be very fresh tasting. Definitely fresh tasting.
So FYI, we did pre-grind. Because literally, all I had was like salt grinder salt. So, all right. So
I'm using my 1/4 teaspoon right now, and I'm doing 3/4 teaspoons of plain old sea salt, and I'm eyeballing it. I'm not being super exact about it. I think if you get a couple more grains of salt than you need, even better. I mean, it's peanut butter. You want it to be a little bit salty. I mean, we're putting a fine amount of sugar in it, especially if you're using Nutella and jelly and things like that. The rise in this is going to come from the baking powder. So I'm using regular aluminum-free baking powder. This is a 365 brand. You can use whatever. There's Clabber Girl, I think.
Clabber Girl.
Yeah, fantastic brands. Doesn't matter. Just baking powder that is still good and usable. You need a tablespoon of it. So if you are making this vegan and you are using like a non-dairy milk and you're not using any eggs, you are going to have to add more baking powder to it. You would need about 4 teaspoons. If you're doing it the normal way with dairy and with eggs, you only need a tablespoon. So, and the reason why is because if anyone's making a vegan version of this and you're not using eggs, you need the rise, and the baking powder is going to provide that. So we using eggs, a little bit less, you not using eggs, a little bit more. So for everyone that's using eggs, I put a tablespoon in of baking powder. Those are my dry ingredients. There's 3 things: salt, baking powder, and flour. I'm going to be extra, and I'm sifting my flour very slowly because there's a lot of flour in this, actually. And now I'm rethinking whether or not I really should have sifted, if I should have just dumped it straight in, because, and actually I'm going to do that because I feel like it's going to take forever. There went me being extra. I was going to be extra about it. Now this is me being lazy about it, even though we've got so much time on our hands. So in my bowl of dry ingredients, I've got 1 3/4 cup of flour, a tablespoon of baking powder, 3/4 teaspoons of salt. Oh my God, I was about to make you add things that you weren't supposed to add. Everyone good, perfect. In my liquid measuring cup, I'm gonna go ahead and this is where your liquid is gonna come into play. I'm gonna use yogurt today because I have this giant vat of this yogurt from Burleigh Farms, and who have really happy cows. The names of their cows are on the side of this. I don't know if people can look and see. And I'm trying to get rid of this yogurt because it's ginormous. It's delicious. And yogurt is actually going to add a nice tender crumb. If you don't have that, milk is fine. You can use non-dairy alternative milk. If you use non-dairy milk, just use an extra 1/3 cup, but we're only going to use a cup. For everyone using traditional liquids, we're only using cups. So if you're using milk, if you're using yogurt, if you're using sour cream, you can use, that's all fine. If worse comes to worse and you don't have dairy, I mean, use water. And I really mean that. You can use water. It'll just be not as, there's a technical term for this. It'll just be more crumbly if you use water. That's all. But it will still hold everything together.
So question, are we putting the milk in the liquidy bowl?
We are going to put the milk. Do you still have your liquid measuring cup, Melissa?
Well, yes. Mm-hmm. I have a liquid, yes, I have multiple liquid measuring cups. I have my milk already in the measuring cup.
Oh, that's perfect. okay, then you're fine. You don't have to pre-measure. You're good. You just need to watch me. Yeah, because we're going to alternate flour and milk. So if you've already measured it, you're ahead of schedule. Everyone's just going to watch me make yogurt in a measuring cup.
So we're going to alternate flour and milk. So I'm going to do like a little milk and a little
flour, right? And the reason why we're doing that is because we don't want it to overmix. And doing that will make sure that the flour doesn't overmix and create a lot of gluten. So I'm going to use...
Are you guys have the dry ingredients in their own bowl first?
What was that?
Should I mix the dry ingredients in their own bowl first?
Yes, you can. That's a good idea. Whisk it together so that way all the ingredients meld together.
Okay.
I got so enthralled in my yogurt.
And if someone sees someone saying he's going to eat my entire loaf, that is my husband's, and that's greedy. And you should share.
Actually, I still have just a little bit of yogurt left. I'm really tempted to just add the rest of it in. I don't know how that's going to do, but I'm going to try to be good and not do that because I wanted to add a little teeny bit of milk to make it a little bit more liquidy. So to make it a cup. See, you can do whatever you want. I'm mixing a little bit of yogurt and milk together because why not? And because I want to go ahead and make my...
So if I already have my full thing of milk and I don't want to waste it, can I add like a tiny bit of yogurt because I have yogurt in the fridge?
Yeah, do it. I say do it. And the reason why you're doing all this stuff, guys, like I said, is use the stuff you've got in your pantry. If you don't have certain things, or if you have half of like a thing of milk and you have yogurt that you need to get rid of, I mean, blended yogurt even, like that could be a really good flavor. If you've got some like strawberry yogurt or if you got some, whatever you want to use, the yogurt is going to provide a more tender crumb if you use yogurt, if you use sour cream and baked goods versus just the liquid, only because your yogurts are a little bit creamier, right? So the way that it's going to mix in together, it'll make it a little bit thicker is what I want to say. Your batter will be a little bit thicker. You can also mix in your yogurt with just like a little bit of milk if you want, just to make it a little bit liquidy. When you're making liquid measurements, you always want to put your measuring cup on a flat surface. Don't lift up and look and add things into your measuring cup because it's not going to be level. So put it on a level surface, and then that's where you're watching the line markings. So mine's almost to a cup. I'm going to add just a little bit more milk. I suppose this is the part where I could have used the rest of my yogurt, but I'm using a little bit of milk. All right, I'm at a cup. Okay. So you've got your peanut butter mixture, you've got your flour mixture, and then you have got your liquid mixture, whatever it is. So that we're gonna, we don't overmix, we're gonna incorporate this alternating, which is a great thing to do with also not just this kind of bread, but with cakes, because that way it will prevent you from overmixing in the flour, and it'll give you, like I said, more of a tenderized crumb. I think that's the technical term. Mary can stop me. We are going to start with the flour, okay? So I'm going to take a little bit of this, and maybe about, I'll say about a third of the mixture. And I'm going to put it back in my stand mixer, and I'm just going to stir that on low. If you put it on high, your flour will go everywhere. And then mix it just a little. You don't have to wait until the flour is completely incorporated. And then I'm going to take everything in my liquid measuring cup, and I'm about to do a third of my liquid. A little bit.
Sorry for the dentist drill.
If you're doing this by hand, same thing. Just do it in thirds. Mix it low until it's about incorporated, but it doesn't have to be completely. All right. Do my flour again. Third. Eyeball it. You don't have to be exact. Keep going. Right now, mine's a floury mess. It doesn't have enough liquid in it. So I got the third.
That's too.
Third of liquid. Keep going. I'm going to add the last of my flour. And then I'm going to add the last of my milk. And I think my camera is about to die on my computer. This is called Julia didn't plug in her electronics properly.
I just plugged mine in.
Okay, plug your things in because on top of the fact that Instagram is probably going to cut us off again, I did not properly plug in my electronics, so everything is going to. So everyone that's on Facebook actually right now has lost me, and I'm ruining the beautiful shirt that Casey created, and I'm so gonna have so much flour on it, Casey, and I'm sorry. All right, how's everyone's mixture looking? Mine's looking a little bit gloopy still. I haven't added the last of my liquid, so I'm gonna do that right now. I'm gonna add the last of my liquid.
Aww. Brian says, thank you for doing this. You're helping us be better bakers.
All right. Okay, mine is pretty incorporated. I can still see flour and I can still see liquid in my bowl. I'm going to stop my mixer though, and I'm going to do the rest of this by hand because I don't trust my mixer. I'm going to undo this paddle. My stand mixer. This is a very technical recipe today, guys. Everyone at home that's baking this with us, you guys are being very expert-like bakers. This is very technical today. It's not as easy as like my one bowl brownies last week. We're having to use so many different pieces of equipment here. And again, if you're doing this at home in a bowl and a whisk or a bowl and a spoon, more power to you. Get your elbow grease. That's like your workout for today. All right. I'm not even being that particular. All right. So I have got no room on this counter. Welcome to Brooklyn living. And I've got a really kind of, that was my flour bowl, guys. This is what I'm talking about. No, I have no space. At first I thought that was my cat, but luckily enough, no. All right.
Okay, so now we're mixing with just like a mixy thing.
Yeah, so now this is my, see how I still have a lot of flour and liquid? I'm taking my spatula now, and I'm just going to go ahead and go into the bowl itself, and I'm going to fold it in and mix it by hand, the rest of the things that I see. So I'm going to move down the flour that I see. I'm going to move down the liquid, anything that's kind of gloopy, and I'm just going to mix that by hand until it's just in. I don't want to overmix. So now I've got a really thick batter. Yours probably looks similar. It smells really peanut buttery. That extra peanut butter is going to be delicious, guys. All right, so today you're using a loaf pan, or you can use, if you don't have a loaf pan, you can use your standard loaf pan. This is a standard loaf pan, 9x5, to bake the bread in. You would grease this the normal way. You can grease it with a little bit of butter. I like putting a little bit of sugar on the outside, which is actually what I'm going to show you. If I can find my butter today, haha. So I like using sticks of butter to grease my pans. You can also just use cooking spray. If you've got cooking spray at home, or if you've got parchment paper, just put parchment paper at the bottom of this. Or you can go ahead and, you know, grease your pan with like I said, with a little bit of butter or oil. If you're not using a loaf pan today, that's fine. You could be making muffins. You could be using cupcake pans. This is a 6-inch. I'm going to show you a different pan. This is a 6-inch, actually an angel cake pan, but because, yeah, it's like one of those things that like has a reversible bottom. But I thought it would be fun to make because it'd be sort of like a mini bundt. I don't have a mini bundt pan, so I'm going to actually use this pan today. Are you using a loaf pan over there, Melissa?
I am.
Perfect.
My friend loaned me because I don't have things. Okay. Great. So
I usually take my butter. Oh, nice. You can use a glass pan. Glass pans are even better because then you can see the bottom and see if they're burnt. So I'm just greasing. I'm going to use this angel cake pan. You want to grease up, and even in loaf pans, grease up the sides, on the bottom. You think that it's too much. It's not. You're like, I'm putting too much butter. It's going to be too much. It's not. Trust me, it's not. The more you put, the less it'll stick. So just put as much as you can all the way through and the top. And I'll just show you mine. Mine's kind of, you can see some of the butter. And then once you're done with all that, I like putting a little bit of sugar on the outside. Some people put flour to go ahead and help with the non-stick. I like putting sugar. And the reason why I do that is because it forms like a kind of crystallized, caramelized side onto loaves and breads. So that's what I'm going to do. Sometimes you don't want that because like depending on if you're going to be frosting cake and such, but this is going to be like a regular bread or quick bread or regular, you know, I'm making it in a cake pan, so mine will be like a sort of mini bundt, but angel cake style in my little pan. I will show you right now what you can do if you're going to sugar or you're going to flour. So if you have sugar or flour, is you take the sugar or the flour, you dump a little bit in your pan that you're using, just a smidge, and you just start circling. This is going to be an interesting run because I have to hold this down. You start circling it in so it coats your pan. Okay, and then you can just put a little more. If you buttered well enough, your sugar will stick or your flour will stick to the butter that you've used to grease the pan.
I felt a lot of butter pressure right then. I was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm missing a spot. Oh no.
It kind of is a good, the flour method or the sugar method is a good indicator to see if you've missed any butter spots because it won't stick otherwise. But you can just get it like, you know, so like I said, I use sugar. You don't have to use sugar. You can use flour. You can be like, if you have a non-stick and you just use cooking spray, that's fine. Or like I said, parchment paper is a great method. The other week we used the foil method. You can put like foil on, aluminum foil in this loaf pan and just cooking spray, and then you can lift right out after you're done. So whatever you've got, you know, work with what you've got. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing right now. You can experiment with the kinds of tools that you've got at home. So once all that is done though, maybe you were better at this and you went ahead and preheated your oven, you greased your pan before we all started. You can go ahead and put your batter. I'm only going to put half the batter into the pan because I'm going to incorporate jelly into this bread / cake. So I'm going to go ahead.
Question on the sugar. You just sprinkled it in?
Yeah, sprinkle it in and then just start rotating your pan around. Okay. So it kind of gets everywhere. And it should stick right onto the butter. Okay. Right onto the butter. So I am going to, this is the option that I said to everyone. You can use jelly. You can use jam. I made a strawberry puree this morning because I was being extra. You don't have to put anything in the middle. You can put chocolate. You can put chocolate chips. You can put nuts. You can put Nutella. You can do whatever you'd like in the middle. I'm only going to put half of my batter, and then I'm going to take my strawberry puree that I made. So I'm just going to dump. I'm not even being delicate about it, guys. It's so thick. The batter is so thick that literally just plop it into the pan. It doesn't have to be dainty. You don't have to be like nice about it. We're being messy this morning. I'm being super messy. Again, you can't see the bottom of the shirt, but it's covered in flour. I think people back watching through Facebook probably see my flower shirt. My flower shirt designed by Casey Rodriguez. Shout out Casey Rodriguez. I'm going to get a spoon. I've used many spoons today, actually. And I'm going to take, so this is my strawberry puree. Basically, I just took a whole bunch of frozen strawberries and I put it over low heat for like 15 to 20 minutes with a little bit of sugar and some like lemon juice and let it concentrate down. So now it's more like, it looks like jam. Like it's basically jam, right? It just has a concentrated flavor. So take your jam, take your Nutella, take your jelly, whichever you'd like, and go ahead and dollop a layer of jelly, jam, puree, whatever you've got around your pan. You don't have to be fancy about it. You don't have to be precise. Just go ahead and dump some jam or jelly or Nutella or whatever. Or if you're putting chocolate chips or nuts, just dump that right in. I'm going to save half of mine because I'm going to go ahead and put some on the top. So just put about half of whatever you're using. Okay?
I said any recommended amount, like, is a jar too much? How much?
I mean, I say half a cup of whatever you're using. You can literally eyeball this if you'd like. I mean, you could open it and you could just start putting a whole bunch of Nutella if you want. I mean, you're making this bread. you're making this bread cake. It's completely up to your taste. I use half, so this is about half a cup of, I would say about a little bit more than half a cup of the puree. Same thing, like, and again, I just dumped it into my pan. Like, it's not even pretty looking right now, because what's going to happen is we're going to put some more batter on top of this. So you can spread it around if you like. If you don't want to and you want to be lazy about it, like me, I'm going to be lazy about it because I think you'll just create swirls inside. We'll find out, because I've never made this. So we're making this together for the very first time. And because I'm using a different pan, I think the question comes up every now and then, does that change the heating time? And it will, because I'm actually using a smaller, it doesn't look smaller, but it is smaller. It's a 6-inch, it's about a 6-inch pan. I think the loaf pan is usually an 8 or 9. The volume, it might be changed in the way that it is. And so mine might take either a little less time, might take a little bit more time than everybody else's, but that's okay. This is where like the minimum times work to things. So I'm taking the rest of my batter and I'm just dumping all of that into the container. I'm not even being nice about it. I'm being so messy. How are you doing, boss? The quietness makes me think you're concentrating really hard over there.
First of all, Mary had a concern that I was going to drop my pan, and that's a very valid concern, which I totally do. I have peanut butter Nutella all over. Oh yeah, I was using Nutella, so it's all over myself. I feel like I have a good amount of counter space, which is all covered in just everything: peanut butter, sugar, egg, milk, all of it. I have 14 dirty dishes. I'm doing great. It's great. Killing it.
In my head, I was thinking, you know what? I could have saved us all the dishes and just made everyone put it in the bowl. And for those of you who don't have any contraptions at home, like stand mixers or hand mixers, and you were doing it all in one bowl, you're probably nodding to yourselves right now, telling yourselves pat yourself on the back. You're only going to do one set of dishes while the rest of us are going to be doing like a million. So there's nothing wrong with doing things by hand, and you probably will have a better cake because you can actually eyeball a lot of stuff that you can't do with machines. So you're probably way ahead of us too at this point. So,
and I literally borrowed everything, like every contraption. When you sent out the list of ingredients, and I remember Mary being like, "This is not a beginner baking class," and I'm like, "I'm so beginner that I not only need the ingredients, but I need what do you need? Like, what tools do you need? Like, do I need a spoon?"
That's fair, because I think I never really mentioned to anybody what they need to use when they're making these things. I just assume that everyone has all the things that I've got in my kitchen. And maybe you don't have, like last week, John was using his regular tablespoon and teaspoons because he had no measuring spoons. He doesn't bake. I mean, that's fair. The fact that he even had a liquid measuring cup was a win. You know what I mean? Back in the day, a lot of people didn't even use like measuring cups. Like, think about that. Like, there's a great yogurt cake that the French make. They just use the yogurt container to measure. Like, that's how they measure, with the yogurt container that they're using to put into their food. Like, they don't even use anything else. Actually, that might be a good cake to make one of these baking sessions, because then we will have one bowl and we will have no equipment, just the yogurt cup. So I took the rest of my batter. I plopped it on top for those of who are still with us, I've plopped the rest of my batter on top of the jelly. Now I'm going to go ahead and take the rest of my puree, and I'm just going to dollop again on the top. And this time I'm going to be a little bit more finicky about it. I'm just going to space it out a little bit better, because you're going to create little swirls of the top to be fancy. So, oh my God, it just smells like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It smells like, ooh, you're having more cocktail. Yeah. So I went and I dolloped in. You can go ahead and take, if you've got a fork, you can use a fork. If you've got a toothpick, you can use a toothpick. Heck, use your spoon, whatever you've got. Like I said, this is
literally the end of my spoon has Nutella on it. That's what a mess I am right now.
You could probably use the end of your spoon to swirl this. Actually, that's a good idea. Let's do that together.
I was thinking ahead. I was already,
You're thinking ahead. So what you're going to do to create the swirl is you're just going to go ahead and make a little S wherever you've got the dollops of the jam, and I've got dollops of jam and peanut butter, and I'm just going to go, I'm going to be using my spoon, and I'm just going to go ahead and make a little S. And what's going to happen is it should I'm not doing this well as I try to show you like little angles. When you swirl it like that, it should mix some of the strawberry jam or the Nutella into the batter. And if it doesn't, and if your little S doesn't work, be a little bit more forceful with it. Make little swirls like this with your hand. You basically just want to mix it a little bit in. Doesn't have to be deep into the batter, but just enough that like it swirls a little bit. That's all. So that way it'll bake in like different kind of patterns.
Mine kind of looks like a Nutella like crime scene on top. There's like
my batter is so thick that mine's not like swirling so great, but like I'm going around now. I'm going around the whole thing, and I'm like trying to swirl a little bit, and I'm literally zigzagging. I'm like going with my spoon and I'm zigzagging. If the spoon method, the back of the spoon method is not working, use a fork. Like I said, use a toothpick. I mean, the most dainty method and probably the most precise method would be to use a toothpick. I'll be honest with you. Maybe I'll show you guys what that looks like to try to be a little bit better as a teacher. As a teacher.
Use a fork and pretend it's a toothpick, right?
So I've got a toothpick. I'm just going to go ahead and do that thing. And it just, you know, it's easier for the swirling because you can actually, it'll make the lines that looks fancy, like at the bakeries. But like I said, if you don't have a toothpick, use a knife, use a fork. It doesn't have to be so crazy. And we're all making messes together.
Okay, so my swirl is like an M. I have an ownership of this.
You know what? That works. So I will show you guys. Mine is a little bit messy, and that's fine. This is going to go into the oven. We're good. I will go ahead and I tap my batter onto the counter to release out the air a couple times, like 3 or 4, maybe 5, 6 taps. And that just balances and levels out the batter into the pan. Because, you know, like when you put it in, it kind of goes on different sides. When you tap it onto the counter like that, it usually levels it out. So this is going in the oven. Let's put it in the oven, guys. Middle rack.
I think Christine and Melissa are like done with theirs already. I feel like their bread is like about to come
They're
out.
probably so done with theirs already. And actually, I'm going to wash my hands a little bit. My top rack in my oven needs to come out because it's too high. I don't want to do that.
So hot in that oven, you guys. Like 350 degrees.
I'm making such a mess today. Okay. All right, I'm setting my. We chatted too much again. We just made too much of a mess and we chatted again. One of these days, I'm going to get this so it's less than an hour.
Why bother?
Otherwise, we're just spending so much time together, guys. You and I in the kitchen.
Okay, what was the timer set for? Sorry. How long for the timer?
About 40 minutes.
Okay. Sorry for the beeping. So sorry.
I'm going to wash my hands again because I had to grab my cat and take my cat off my table where my desktop is. I'm sure everyone at Facebook got a big view of my cat. Everyone at Instagram probably a quarter per ear. You're welcome, guys. Freddie says hello. I am going to go ahead and put the timer that I had in my hand. Maybe Catherine is still on, and if she is, Catherine Greeley, I'm going to call you by your maiden name. You gave this to me when you were still Greeley. So this is the timer that you gave to me, Catherine from New Zealand, that I'm going to go ahead and set for 40 minutes. It matched my kitchen back then. It still matches now. 40 minutes, and it sounds like a ticking time bomb, says John. While that is going on, I suppose we can attempt to try to put our kitchens back in order. I'm going to go ahead and stick this in my fridge so I don't kill my dairy. And I'm going to take all of my contraptions and I'm going to put everything that I've used into my bowl for one bowl cleanup, hopefully. But I've made such a huge mess, guys. Hopefully you made less of a mess than I. But now the great news is I can actually see comments right now. The bad part is I think we've lost like everybody that was watching because they were like, we already put our things in the oven. What's happening? So like I said, I made a huge mess in my kitchen. I have started to put everything away. And
I have
everyone,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 measuring or stirring apparati that are dirty at the time. So I can't.
not good, guys, not good. I have a lot of dishes that I will probably have to wash, not unlike the other day when we were making fudge brownies where I didn't have anything really to clean up. Today,
How do you feel about this?
I've used so much apparatus. What is that? Are you looking? How does it taste?
Am I gonna die?
Too sweet? Too peanut buttery?
No. It's very peanut buttery, but I remember I added like a lot. Very, very, very peanut buttery. I'm glad I added the yogurt. Oh, delicious.
Oh, good.
And we'll see if I like keel over. It's not the only thing to kill me right now.
So you might have licked your batter to taste test it, which is fine. I mean, it's how you feel about salmonella. You know, a little bit of raw egg maybe might not kill you. Depends on your thoughts about that. That is a scientific question that Mary can answer. Even Christine can answer that since she teaches science. But welcome back to everyone that got cut off because Melissa and I chatted for way too long. Everyone on Facebook, you were with me while I tried to figure out what the heck just happened to our feed on Instagram. Because per usual, because I'm doing 2 different feeds, one on Instagram, one on Facebook, trying to be extra. Instagram cuts you off when you talk for like an hour. And to be fair, our bread is going to take a while. Like you're just hanging out with us. Like this is the point where we are now just like cleaning up. You know, Melissa's got a little mocktaini. I've got some sparkling water in a glass. I don't know what you're drinking. Hopefully you put your breads or cakes in the oven. We're going to check it around 40 minutes. And actually, to be fair, I would check at 35 because at 35 minutes, you can go ahead and toothpick test already. So drinking my cup of water. I barely have any peanut butter left. I don't know how your lives are like. I'm putting away my baking powder.
I have 4 more jars. I'm good.
I was totally going to use sprinkles on top, and then I decided not to go that route because I put a whole bunch of jam in it, and I felt like that was enough. That's so unlike me, by the way, because I'm usually a little bit more than that. I usually try to be a little bit too much, but no sprinkles.
You can still add sprinkles if you want.
You know what? I could. At the end of it, when I top it over, I can add sprinkles to the top. So,
and as far as being extra, I'm literally wearing a Rent the Runway dress to bake in because I'm that level extra. Because
why not?
Anywhere.
Who's your designer? Name drop that.
Great question. No idea. Wait, can you guys see? Hold on. No, you can't. I can't get my head up there. Maybe I can see in my microwave.
Everyone that's on Facebook right now, we've just put our...
it's Temperley London. I did remember that.
There you go. Melissa's with me on Instagram, Julianne NYC. Everyone on Instagram who have rejoined the live or have just joined in, welcome. Mary is fielding comments. I think we lost like a lot of the folks that are on there. Oh, there's a comment. What did I miss? Oh, you know what? You didn't really miss a lot. I mean, we've been bouncing. To be honest.
You missed that.
Okay, I mean, I'll recap for you guys because we've got time while we're waiting for our cake breads to bake. We have supposedly made, peanut butter and jelly bread today. I call it peanut butter and jelly bread. Melissa made peanut butter and Nutella bread today because she used Nutella, not jelly. And it is a recipe from 1932 in one of those recipe cookbooks from in and around the Depression era, where basically people were just making things from their pantry. And it was basic. That recipe, if you went vegan on it, you can make it without eggs and or milk. And that was basically, normally takes 4 or 5 ingredients. You could probably make it in one bowl. Melissa and I both were being a little bit crazy, and we decided to use our stand mixers today, which was, yes, a good idea, and no, also probably not a good idea, because now we all have a million dishes to wash. You probably could have made it all in one bowl, and I commend you, by the way. If there's anybody out there that made it in one bowl, please raise your hand right now and tell everyone in the group that you did it, because for goodness sakes, like, you use a whole bunch of elbow grease and you're probably done washing your dishes and you're just waiting for the bread to come out. So the reason why we're calling it a bread and not a cake is because we're making it in a loaf pan. I'm making it because I'm being weird today. And I just wanted to try it and test it out. I'm making it in an angel cake pan. Let's see how that turns out, guys. It's a 6-inch angel cake pan. And we're going to go ahead and see how all our breads turn out. But if you've been watching from the beginning, I think Melissa is eating our batter, which she tells me is delicious. I just dumped all my stuff in the sink. I didn't even try it, which was a mistake. That was a mistake.
Also, I'm loving the salt.
Oh, good.
So if you add like extra salt for any reason, you will not regret that.
There you go. See, so this bread, you know, for those of us who have just joined in or have been watching us and tried to figure out what in the heck we've been doing since we just started baking and didn't really explain anything, which is the hallmark of any of these live bakes that you've had with me. I basically explain nothing and I just start baking. So we are making Depression era peanut butter bread. Apparently went viral in Canada. Lots of people have been making it because they're sick and tired of making banana bread. I don't know, has anyone made their banana bread already back home? Possibly, yes. And you know, like I said, with this peanut butter bread, you could have used applesauce, you could have used bananas, and it could have been like a makeshift banana bread. So welcome back, everyone. And for those who just joined in. And I'm now reading the comments because I can actually see the comments right now because I'm paying attention to the screen. And everyone's really excited, Melissa, that you keep on eating your batter.
I have batter, I have sparkling wine, living my best life.
I mean, I'm just drinking my water and I made a complete mess of my kitchen. I'm still putting ingredients away.
Update. I can't find the lid for my clabber girl.
This is the state that we're in. My timer says we've got at least another 25 minutes before we can check on anything. For those at home that actually put their loaves of bread, I put bread in quotation mark because it's a bread cake, a quick bread. If you put that in the oven already and yours is coming out or you want to check to make sure that everything is okay, if you stick a toothpick in it, I would check it in 3 places. Sometimes you check it in the middle, other times you can check it on the outside, but definitely 3 places just to make sure. The toothpick should come out completely clean. This is not like Fudgy Brownie Week where we stuck the toothpick in and it was fine. If it was a little bit crumbling at the top, none. It wants to be completely clean because you are making quick bread today and you don't want to undercook your quick bread because it'll be liquidy and not delicious. I will say that right now. So
okay, I also saw that Tiffin just joined. I wanted her to see my Pete's coffee cup. Yay! So that was the pre to get started and feel fueled and intelligent and focused and delicious. And then this is the post for while we're actually baking, and then I need to comfort myself for not doing a good job.
I think we're doing a good job from what I could see. Yours looks good.
Yay! Okay, great. Then celebration for doing a great job.
And if you're eating your batter right now and it tastes good, that means your bread will taste good. So a lot of people like tasting it that way as they go sometimes because then you can tell if you've added too much sugar. And I think last week when John was making his, he might have added a little too much sugar because when he tasted it, he kind of made a face. So sort of one of those things. But again, if you're ahead of schedule, then Melissa and I were babbling for like an hour before Instagram Live cut us off again. Like, I have such a habit of getting cut off by Instagram Live. One day, you know, baking, I think, is not a good thing to do for under an hour because we're real-time baking and you have to watch us bake the actual thing in the oven. I suppose I could have made a little pre-bread that I could have magically taken out of the oven to show you guys. And then you could stop listening to the two of us. But I did not. Because we're baking live.
I'm excited because literally this is the first time I have baked something from scratch since childhood. Like, I don't know, like a long, many years. So, thank you.
Oh, nice. Well, this is going to be good, Melissa, because, I mean, despite the fact that we use like 20 different tools,
yes,
it was I mean, I don't want to call this beginner level. I think Mary is right. It was a little bit because of the fact that I was introducing a lot of techniques that I would say are not beginner level. I mean, a lot of people like one bowl mixing. This is why cake mixes are so easy to do. You only use one bowl, you have like 3 ingredients and you're done. And like, this is the kind of baking that requires a little bit more elbow grease and a lot more time. And so hopefully though, at the end of it, like I said at the beginning, when I was making fun of it, it was made with love.
Made with love and Nutella.
Yes. And Christine is giving lots of positive vibes to Melissa, who has not baked since she thinks childhood. And she is baking with us today. We are making, she made peanut butter and Nutella bread. I made peanut butter and jelly bread. And we're going to see how this turns out. Because like I mentioned at the beginning of our live broadcast, I have never, ever, ever made this before in my entire life. This is a very first time recipe. We are learning together, and whether or not I steered you all wrong and we're about to eat the most not appetizing thing, we're going to find out. And that's a great challenge. And thank you guys for coming on this journey with me.
So I literally ate my peanut butter bread batter, and then I ate the Nutella that was left on my spoon, and both were delicious. So I feel like in combination, it's still going to be delicious.
I mean, I think it's going to be really good, guys. So, you know, while we're waiting for this, I'll give you a little bit of a debrief on how Melissa and I came across this when she was asking for peanut butter recipes. And I was Googling. I literally just went peanut butter recipes, and the very first thing that popped up was this bread because, like I said, apparently a lot of people are making it in Canada because they're tired of making banana bread. So they're making this peanut butter bread. And it was in a recipe book that requires only like 3 or 4 ingredients because it's from the 1930s. Doesn't require, like, there was like 4 lines of like, you know, how to make it, and people are interpreting it however they want to interpret it. And some people put less peanut butter in it. We put a lot of peanut butter in it today. Some people put less peanut butter in it, and they said it's really subtle, but the bread tastes actually subtle. And then they put butter on it and they toast it and they eat it like that, like it's real actual loaf bread. We're making it like a cake today because we put eggs in it. We mixed milk and yogurt and we stuck that in there. Like, I mean, you put Nutella, I put jam. Like, you're not supposed to put, like, they didn't have jam in, like, the original recipe, and we're doing it anyway, because why the heck not? We're living in quarantine life.
Recipe either.
Yeah, we're living in quarantine life, so, you know, do what you gotta do. And do a lot of dishes, which is what's gonna happen to all of us. We're gonna do a lot of dishes.
Okay, so yes, Nutella is love, if you saw my little heart before, and hi, Dawn, and also, today is Brian's last day off. He'll be back at the hospital tomorrow, caring directly for COVID patients every day. And so if you want some of my bread, I will gladly give it to him. So when we're not baking in this space right now, he uses it every day to come home. He has 2 sets of scrubs. He wears a scrub at the a set of scrubs at the hospital, a set of scrubs for the car back and forth to the hospital, comes here, takes everything, washes it, gets in the shower, does all of that. It's insanity. And so this is our chill, relax, have peanut butter bread and Nutella time. And so thank you.
That's the thing though too, like with a lot of like those healthcare people that are out in the front lines that have to do all of that just to like come home and, you know, relax at the end of the day before they have to do all that stuff. I mean, that stuff is hard, and that's props. So tell Brian, Thank you for like going out there and like doing this for us while all of us get to stay in the safety of our homes and make peanut butter bread instead of having to go out and like, you know, take care of folks. So I hope everyone's staying safe out wherever you are, and doing everyone a favor and staying home so folks like Brian don't have to crazily work so hard like that and like endanger themselves because they have to take care of so many folks. So please stay home. Please keep baking with us. Melissa's here with me this Saturday. Mary's continuously, I think she's being less snarky today. The more that we do this, I feel, Mary, the less snarky you become. No.
I feel like if I were snarking with her, she'd amp it up again. But because I'm here, I can't respond and antagonize. So
fair.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Mary's toned down a little bit. She's probably now going to ramp up because, there we go. Shouldn't have mentioned it. Shouldn't have said a thing. Mary's going to go ahead and just start going off again. But we're here with Melissa live, so she has no sparring partner on the comments. So she can only spar with the people that are commenting with her. And I feel like...
Exactly. She can spar on her own. She's excellent at that. But I feel like having another person does elevate the level of snark.
True. That's true. If you joined us, which apparently a couple people have joined in, welcome. You have missed Melissa and I making a mess, aka making peanut butter bread. Hers was in mine was
the comments that she's made, because apparently there are so many great ones that we're missing. Dang. Oh, it's in the last live that we can't see.
So I'll give like notation for everyone. So we're doing this on Instagram Live. We're seeing your comments now, but after when this gets posted, you know, when we're not paying attention or we're actually paying attention, when we can see, we get no comments. So we get to see nothing you've said unless you've said it at the very beginning or at the very end. Are you down to your last a little cocktail drink there?
No. So first of all, this is sparkling wine, sparkling Pinot Noir.
Ooh,
from Trader Joe's. And I'm down to like half of the bottle.
I'm still drinking water.
Better be finished soon is all we're saying.
We've got at least another 15 minutes before we have to check it. So keep on commenting to us. If there are any questions that came up while you were baking, again, if you've just joined, and people actually have just joined us, we've been baking peanut butter bread live. And unlike cooking shows on TV, I don't have a quick bread that I can take out of the oven that's already made that I can show you to end this broadcast. You have to stay with us until we actually take this out of the oven.
So, Julianne, you should start having like some sort of trivia or something to interact during.
I usually, because you know, the last couple of times we've done this, like the first time we did it with Casey, if you're still out there, hey there, you made this shirt. Congratulations on your artistic abilities. Everyone out there, this shirt, Casey Rodriguez. And so basically, you know, we were making frosting, we were doing all these things while we were waiting for the cake. This last week with fudge brownies, John needed a lot of help. John, if you're out there, I'm sorry you did. You needed a lot of help. Love, lots of love.
You know, and John, though, he was a hero. He put up with all of our snarky commentary, and that was delightful. So thank you, John.
So he actually, like, while we're going through, had lots of questions. So I actually had put mine in the oven while we were still talking. But now, and those brownies only took 20 minutes. This is going to take at least, you've sat with us for at least 20 minutes of like the 40 minutes that it's going to take to bake. Congratulations. And congratulations for all those who left us, decided to come back because you wanted to see where in the heck we were in this process. The answer is we're still waiting for our things to come out of the oven.
Is anyone's bread done yet?
Is anyone's bread done yet? I mean, this is the kind of stuff that I want to know. I mean, nobody on Facebook is saying anything because I think people on Facebook are not paying attention to me. But people on Instagram that have actually been baking with us. I know Melissa was baking with us and Christine. Did you guys actually get your breads out of the oven? Because if you did, rock star status. Everybody else is like, nope, we're still sitting here waiting with you.
I can hear your timer. Okay, so Julianne, I'll interview you.
Okay.
Sure. So you're working from home.
I am working from home, yes.
What is a day in the life of Julianne working from home like?
Well, Julianne gets woken up every morning, not by her alarm clock, but by her cats that are living with her, who want to be fed and they jump on her. So she requires no alarm clock because she will wake up promptly in the morning by her cats, earlier than she needs to. Then she feeds her cats, and then she prepares to get to work. You know what I've been doing lately, actually, that I didn't normally do before all of this went down, is I've been working out before I actually start work. I've been doing like, you know, home workouts through different classes that you can take online and different videos. And I've been actually using my yoga mat that's been sitting in my closet for goodness knows how long. And I do that every morning for at least 30 minutes to an hour to give myself a little bit of an energy boost before I get in front of my computer, because my job is primarily a desk job and I sit in front of my computer and answer emails and deal with like meetings and phone calls and things like that. And so when that is all over, though, you know, what's been great is that, and I don't know if anybody else has had the same experience, is you're making yourself like food for lunch, which has been like amazing, and you have time to make dinner. The fact that I actually have time to make dinner for myself and I haven't picked up the phone to like order delivery, although I have done that, let's be real. But like the fact that like I have actually made food is a big thing, because I think a lot of us don't have a lot of time. You're like, you're commuting, you come home, you've got kids, there's like so many different things, you know, that are going on in your life, and the last thing you want to do if you've been out all day is like come home and do something else. But the mundane tasks that we're able to do now, it's kind of a nice thing. But yeah, like, has anybody binge watched TV? Because that's what I've been doing. I've been binge watching a lot of TV. And actually, I watched this really terrible show. Let's talk about this terrible show that I watched the other day. I was watching the show on ABC. I don't want to say it's terrible because it's cheesy and it's cheese-tastic, and maybe it's the kind of show that we all should be watching right now because it's brainless. It's called The Beauty and the Baker on ABC. Oh. And it's basically about a model who cheesily runs into a baker on the streets of Miami, and craziness ensues because it's going to be a romance love story. And so I feel like it should be a mini series, but for some reason it's a series episodic. So every Monday night you can watch it. I'm watching it. It's ridiculously cheesy. It's ridiculously cheesy. Yeah. What have you been doing, Melissa?
Killing Eve, which we watched. I've never seen it before. Season 3 is coming out, and so we literally watched 17 episodes in 2.5 days. Not recommended, not good for productivity or living any other sort of life, but yeah, so we're all caught up and we're on season 3, episode 1. It is crazy. What are people commenting? Oh, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. Yes, we watch that every week. Yes. Have you seen Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist?
I have not, but I've been wanting to check it out. It looks like it's, it looks like it's a good time. And Christine is right. Christine just commented on Instagram that it sounds The Beauty and the Baker is something that I would watch. You're right. It is. And Mary, correct. Yes, it is correct. That is something I would watch. I like really cheesy things. I gotta be
Hallmark movies. Are you doing the Hallmark Christmas movies?
I love Hallmark Christmas movies. This is the kind of good time. Is it weird to watch Christmas movies now? I feel like it'd be strange, but this is a good time to like binge watch all these things that you haven't seen.
Yeah.
Because like you've got nothing but time. Like I know the people that have started taking up hobbies because they're being like, you know, fantastic. I mean, maybe some people are learning languages at home. I don't know. Tiger King. No, Mary, you're not
Tiger King. I'm literally wearing Tiger King, Mary. Like I haven't mentioned it, but yeah.
No.
So I have avoided Tiger King because I've heard that there's like animal cruelty in it. Is that true? Any viewers, can you report?
My cat is trying to make an appearance. I'm gonna check her.
Tiger Queen.
There goes my cat.
Okay, so Mary, do you think that that woman killed her husband? Carol, whatever her name is, did she beat her husband with her? Is your cat's name Fred?
My cat's name is Freddie. Her real name is Frederica, except because I have a cat named Ginger, and my sister's cat is named Fred because she thought it'd be funny if we had a cats named Fred and Ginger. And my sister is in North Carolina, but I have her cat. And we call my cat, she's a girl, we call her Freddie. And she is very naughty because she's young and she jumps on everything. You've probably seen her at least twice now because she just jumped onto this countertop, toppled everything that was still left. There wasn't a lot because I've been trying to clean up, and she just dumped it all. And then she's now in a corner staring at me because she doesn't understand why I'm not playing with her. That is Freddie. Cats, guys, cats. This is what you're looking for.
That's why I have turtles. No, it's not why I have turtles. I'm allergic to everything that isn't turtles. But my turtles stay in their tank, and they just stay in their tank. Every once in a while, we let them out of their tank, and then they just try to get back in their tank. So that's my kind of jam as far as pets go.
That's nice, though, because, like, you know, well, I was really lucky because the last couple times we did this, my cats were napping while we were actually creating. And, oh my God, Christine's bread is done.
I'm going to look at my light.
All right. So for those of us who just joined, thanks again for coming back after we got cut off by Instagram, one. Two, Melissa and I still have a couple minutes before we're checking our bread, but some of the extra achievers on the viewers and at home and comments have put their bread in the oven before us. And Christine, shout out to Christine, is checking her bread. She thinks hers might be actually done. I've got another 5 minutes before I'm checking my bread. I'm checking on this handy dandy timer, manual timer that Catherine gave me. Catherine in New Zealand. I don't know if you're still on. Here it is.
Question. My bread is overflowing its banks. So, I mean, it's not overflowing yet. I have 9 minutes left, but it's rising above the level of the pan.
Ooh.
How do we feel about that?
I don't think it's going to technically rise anymore. Christine says it took her 45 minutes. If you feel weird about it, and this is for everyone actually that's still watching, if you think that your pan is going to overflow, a good thing that you can do is if you have a cookie sheet or if you have another pan at home, put some foil on top of that and put it directly underneath on the rack underneath your bread. And then if it does overflow, it will catch it all. Or if you don't have a pan, just put some foil underneath. How is it looking? Does it look like it's going to topple over?
No, it looks amazing. But my radiographer in the background did inform me of the same thing. He's like, put a sheet under it.
You don't want to be we are making a mess though, Melissa. So the fact that if there's
and he's so precise. He likes everything to be like sterile and clean and tidy. And then he married me.
So for those of you who are joining us, we're making peanut butter bread. I think Mary is fielding some comments that we cannot see and giving everyone advice. And I hope she's giving everyone great advice. She should be, because for those of you who don't know, Mary's scientist, also baker. Who knew? Okay. Multitasker. Oh, wow. That's looking pretty good. I don't think that'll overflow, to be honest. No. I mean, everyone at home who wants to comment in, at the bottom of our screen, people on Facebook can't see, but Melissa's showing us her bread. It's pretty high up in the loaf pan. It hasn't completely gone over yet. And we're about, we're going to check in about 5 or 10 minutes. That looks like that might be the highest it's going to actually go. I don't think it's going to go higher than that. However, I would do, like I said, go ahead and take like a foil if you feel weird about it and just put it underneath. Expired in 2015, Nutella. Ooh. You know what? Let's have a quick conversation about expiration dates, because in the beginning, the very first time we did this, Casey used expired vanilla from 2018, and it turned out perfectly okay. A lot of the expiration dates that you see on food packaging are best by dates. They're not necessarily expiration dates like you're going to get food poisoning. There's certain exceptions to that. I know that Mary will now correct me. There's certain exceptions to that. But certain things that have expiration dates, they might not just be as effective. A lot of things that you look out for, baking soda and baking powder, for example, that helps things rise. If it's way past expiration, that stuff is not going to help you. It is just, you're adding it and it's not going to do anything to anything that you make. Vanilla has alcohol in it. You could probably get away with it for a little bit longer than that. The rule of thumb, though, is if it looks spoiled, don't use it. If you opened your Nutella, was it open already?
Bad.
It was bad?
No. If something smells or tastes bad. So I should say, even though I don't know how to cook, I have been a product manager for multiple food products. And so I have been involved in creating best by dates on food. And so I have literally had manufacturers and people say, well, we can make the expiration. So the expiration date might be, this was for olives, for example, or tapenades or things in jars or whatever. So they say like, oh, it right now is 3 years. We can make it 2 years if you want, and then sell more. So so that was purely, I chose not to. I kept it at 3 years. But people can adjust and manipulate those for other reasons, but also for the most genuine reason that you would have that sort of best by date. You're looking at taste, texture, efficacy, all of the things that are the purpose of that food. Is it supposed to taste good? Whatever. And then beyond that, yes, of course, things like dairy, meat, risk of listeria and other things that you want to be more careful with those. But if you're looking at something that's in a can, in a package, like usually they've either been heated to a high degree or they're shelf stable in some way. So those Best By dates are very lenient.
Yes, for sure. And exactly. I mean, the only things that I would say, I mean, like think about like milk and like, you know, yogurt and stuff like that. Like when you open, you can smell the rancidness of it. Sometimes there's like a Best By date and your milk, especially milk that's been like UHT milk that, you know, has gotten a little bit pasteurized, or so I say a lot more pasteurized than normal milk. A lot of organic milks are like that. Will say an expiration date and last for weeks after. It really is about the idea of like taste and smell. But again, and what Melissa was saying is true, is that there's some things that have expired that you might get food poisoning from that look perfectly okay and that taste okay. So just be like, use your best judgment. And I think Christine was saying that her Nutella wasn't so super spreadable, but it was still fine. And I mean, that's good. You're just baking with it too, Christine. I mean, it's not like you're if anything bad about it, I feel like would have been killed off. Some of the bacteria would have probably gotten killed off by baking. So.
I love that Catherine has been organizing her pantry while she's waiting.
Catherine's being so good. I still have not done any of my dishes. Instead of doing my dishes, Melissa and I have been chatting with you. So yeah. We're still going to have to do our dishes when this is all done. We're trying to keep you entertained while we're all waiting.
Okay, so we've talked about your pre-work life. Then once you start work, what do you do? What kinds of things are you working on? Who are you talking to? What's happening?
I work in music. We are doing things. It's a very interesting time right now, actually, because a lot of artists aren't on tour. But so you're going to see like lots of, I think, a lot of pivoting with a lot of different industries. And it just so happens that music is actually also available digitally. So a lot of my work didn't get affected so much because of the fact that a lot of the artists and the labels that I help out are already on the digital space because people are at home and they're like, and people are listening to music. I mean, let's talk about really good albums that anybody's been listening to. If you have a recommend for music that you've been listening to, my cat just jumped on my table and like moved everything around that you were listening to, let us know. But it's been good. How about you, Melissa? What have you been up to?
Well, I did make a playlist for Brian because I wanted him to have like a good, like, you know, like good thing to go into the hospital every day because it's scary, right? Like going to the hospital, you're dealing with something that, because he's high risk, I'm high risk, it's bad news as far as that's concerned. So I made him a playlist that has like the Star Wars theme, Jones theme, a bunch of stuff about like David Bowie heroes, just like things that would like get him amped up and excited to like go and do, and he's really good at his.
I think we lost Melissa, guys. She's frozen.
Okay, are we back?
Yes, you're back. No? For a hot second there was like a little bubble that was like going.
Aww.
But you were making
I got a bubble too.
Dance music, yes, Mary. You should be giving out your recommendations on to the commenters out there. So my timer says another 5 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and check it now because I put mine at 40 and I like checking mine about 5 minutes before it tells me so. I'm just gonna turn on the light in my oven and take a quick look.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I want some expert opinions.
Oh wow. Let's look. That looks pretty good.
Yeah? Should I clean my oven glass?
You can. I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to prepare. If you've got a toothpick, this is a great example of what you're supposed to be doing.
Should I take it out now, do you think?
You can check it if you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and take mine out and we're going to go ahead and check together. Please use your oven mitts if you're taking things out of the oven. I am using mine. So I feel like mine is going to take a little bit longer to bake than everybody else's just because the volume of what I'm making. I'm using a round pan. Everyone else is using a loaf pan primarily at home. I'm using my Angel food cake pan because it reminds me of like a little mini bundt, and I thought that if I flipped it over, it might look really interesting. Mine looks fairly done on the top. I'm going to go ahead and take a toothpick. I think the interior is not done. So my toothpick is actually kind of tiny. So I have a skewer. So a lot of people, I don't know why I have skewers right now. I think it's because I tried making something at one point. I'm going to use a skewer instead of a toothpick. Either one can work. If you don't have toothpicks or you don't have skewers, I always recommend using like forks or knives and things like that. You can use whatever. You're just trying to now test to see when things are done. I like checking in 3 places. I'm going to stick mine right in the middle. Mine is definitely not done. You can definitely see, and I'm going to show people on Facebook too. You can definitely see that I've got a whole bunch of crumbs and it's still kind of liquidy. A little bit more though, not very much longer. That's only one side. That one side check is good enough for me to put it back. Because if it's not cooked on one side, it's probably not cooked on the other, and that's just, I'm using my assumptions. So I'm going to put it back.
So mine's brown on the edges, FYI.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I think mine's definitely cooked on top. It's just the middle. It's going to go back in. I'm going to go back in for about another 10 minutes. Melissa, how's your checking going?
I'm looking to see if I own a skewer.
If you don't, you can try with a toothpick, or if worse comes to worse, you can check it with like a fork.
I don't think I own a toothpick. Oh my gosh, do you want to see this? We have, this is the real life of Brian and Melissa right there.
Wow, that's good ramen. Those at Facebook, you're missing out because on Instagram, Melissa is showing us right now her drawer full of ramen noodles. Like a full drawer full.
Young, right? Like that's a good stuff.
That's amazing.
So that's why we don't have room for toothpicks, because we have ramen priority.
Oh, Mary says if you have ramen, you probably have chopsticks. Use a chopstick. That's a good idea, Mary. What? Mary, that's a fantastic idea. Thank you for mentioning the chopstick, the humble chopstick.
Oh, snap. It is goo on the inside.
Yeah, that needs to go
on the
in.
outside.
I would say like maybe another 10 minutes. I would go another 10 minutes.
But is it going to make it burn on the outside?
No. And if you feel like it's getting too toasty, actually, this is a good segue. For those at home, if you feel like your bread on the top is too toasted looking, like it's looking a little dry, or maybe you're thinking it looks burnt, you can take a piece of foil and stick it on top of your pan, and it'll stop it from, I'll put this in quotation marks, Mary will correct me, from cooking on top. It's basically going to stop the browning that happens on top, but it'll still be cooking, right? Don't completely envelop it though, because if you fold it down, there's going to be steam that happens between the foil and the pan. You just want to put a piece of foil just like over the top, kind of like, you know, a string. Don't mush it down. Just like put it straight on top. And that'll prevent it from browning any further than you need. You can do that, a lot of people do that with pie crust, like that aluminum test they'll do on pie crust. So again, if it's too brown, you think it's too brown and you don't want it to get browner than the top that you're seeing, just take a piece of foil, just flat on top. Don't mush it down. Oh, thanks, Mary. She just told me I'm right, foil, yes. So again, just as a repeat, if you are checking your breads and your cakes and things, your bread cake, I want to call it the quick bread, your quick bread right now, and you think it's too toasted and too brown on top, you can stop the browning process on the top by using foil. Just don't touch it down.
Bad news, which is that I'm not getting any of the new comments. So any helpful tips that Mary provides, any sass, I can't see it, and that is a shame and a travesty.
She just said
the
that.
The last thing I see though is that Christine's Nutella expired in 2015, so that's quality.
And the reason why, like I said, that you do that is because it's still cooking. The pan is still, you know, the heat in your oven is still cooking everything. It's the top of your oven that's like beating down. That's a really non-technical term. It's beating down onto your baked goods. You can stop that browning process on the top. Again, just do not envelop your pan with it, just flat on top. And they do this a lot too with pies. If pie crust, if you ever worry about your pie crust browning, that's a good method as well, to kind of put foil on the outside. So those of you cannot see, because my cameras aren't facing that way, my cat is running around my living room right now, not napping. She's running around my living room with her toy and her ball, and she is running around, and I'm afraid she's going to knock over my computer at one point or another. So if you lose me, that's what happened. But I've got at least another 5 or 10 minutes, I think, before I have to check again. I think we lost everybody. I think we're down to 7 people. Everyone's like, what are you doing? This is no longer baking. You're just chatting. Yes, we're just chatting. Hello.
Well, I did put foil on my top per your recommendations.
Oh, good.
So,
good.
Things are still happening.
So we are 7 people left on this, or viewing. 7 people, I think. I think that number is correct.
How many did we have before?
I think we had like 30 or 40 people before we dropped. And that's probably because no one is baking. Hey, stop, Mary. Now she's being snarky. Oh boy.
I can't see any of Mary's snark. That's
the waiting is the hardest part. The waiting is the hardest part. For those who are like watching right now, Facebook, on Instagram, we are making quick bread, which sounds like it would be quick, but actually because it's like a loaf size, takes a while. So you were watching Melissa and I just chattering as we wait for our breads, because this is real live baking. Like, this is not cooking show baking where I show you to mix the ingredients and then I suddenly take the baked good out of the oven. We're baking together. And for the very first time, we're making peanut butter bread that I've never made before. So we're all going to taste it together. Christine, how did yours turn out? Oh, good. Thanks, Christine. That's a good stat. She thinks we're all still here. Fantastic. Good.
I think on Instagram, it's a similar number to what I've seen the whole time, like 7, 8, 9, something like that. So we haven't lost too many.
Thanks, Christine. So Christine's reassuring me that we're not doing this in vain. I'm not just doing this to the ether. We're all baking together. I actually love baking with you guys every week, not because Mary, I'm lonely, but because I think it feels like you guys are with me in this time of quarantine, that we're all sitting here together making something. And at the end of the day, we all kind of get it like this, like, oh, here I go. I'm going to use that word again. We make things with love. Because we've made things with love together, like, you know, it becomes like this sort of like communal experience. So I'm hoping that it's the same for you guys, and that you're making all these things with me, or even if you're just like popping in for a second just to see what the heck we're babbling about. Like today, Melissa's been drinking her cocktail. I've been drinking my water, listening to my timer that sounds like a ticking time bomb right next to me go off, and enjoying the comments that I can actually read right now. Before, we couldn't read any of the comments. It was kind of sad. We couldn't comment on anything. Hopefully Mary was keeping you entertained.
So I could read the comments before, and now I can't. So I'm totally flying blind in terms of Mary's snark for help. But I love this because I've had multiple opportunities to do like happy hours with friends and stuff, and I don't want to do any of that. Like, I'm like, I don't want to just sit and drink and talk, and like that seems really boring and potentially anxiety inducing, because I'm like, I have other things I need to get done. But something where I get to bake and have fun and have something productive at the end feels more fun.
Yes, yes, exactly. And it's sort of interesting because I feel like it really has given us more time to spend like with folks that you normally don't spend time with. Christine, I think your question about your quick bread was, it came out a little dense. Was it supposed to be dense? Yes. The batter was very dense, and especially depending on what kind of liquid you used. If you were using yogurt like I was using, or sour cream, something like that, that's already dense to begin with, or also because we use a lot of peanut butter, the bread will be dense. It's not going to be kind of like that really fluffy banana bready texture, because the peanut butter is going to create like a density. It shouldn't be like rock hard, but it's definitely not going to be fluffy. The word that I want to use is fluffy. This is not a fluffy bread. It's not like a zucchini bread. It's not like a banana bread. Because we're using peanut butter, it's definitely going to be much denser. It should taste delicious, though. The batter was really thick. The one that I had was really thick. If you had a more watery batter, which happens a lot, like when we were making cake a couple weeks ago, that's going to be, the crumb is going to be a little bit more tender. And so that will be a little bit fluffier if you were using more of a liquid, like a milk, or if you use more liquid than that, or if you use water, especially if you use water. But if you were using like a yogurt or sour cream, I would say that it's definitely going to be dense. No, you didn't mess it up. You're doing good. You're doing good, Christine. The fact that you actually are ahead of us, again, I'm 5 minutes before I check mine again. the fact that you're ahead of us means great things, because that means you were way ahead of Melissa and I making messes. I mean, I dropped flour on myself. My cat just jumped up on my table again. She's been knocking things over. I have egg splatters. I haven't done any dishes. I mean, Catherine is organizing her pantry cabinet. I mean, this is good. This is good stuff. And if it tastes good too, like if you tried your cake, you think it's too dense, but you sliced it and you tasted it, I bet you it's going to get even better as the days go on because of the condensation flavor. So we'll find out. I'm glad your Nutella worked out, by the way, Christine.
I also just want to acknowledge that I made a mess of my entire kitchen, but my clothes are still clean.
I have flour all over me. And I would like to say, again, I apologize to Casey. I don't think is watching anymore right now, but Casey out there who designed this shirt, I'm sorry. I just put flour all over it. I've been so good these last couple of times that we've baked. I haven't worn an apron and I haven't made a mess of the shirt, but this time it's just disaster. Pure disaster.
Where can people get that shirt?
She was selling this actually for Puerto Rico relief when all the things were going down with Puerto Rico. And it was for charity. So she was giving money to like food banks in Puerto Rico. This shirt was limited edition. Limited edition.
So they can't get it. Sorry.
You can no longer get this shirt. Unless she decides that she wants to sell them again. But they were for one-time charity for Puerto Rico. Doing your part. Uh-oh.
All right, we have another check.
Since she's checking her bread, I'm going to check mine too. I feel like that's a good time to do that because ours went in around the same time. So I'm going to also check mine. The last thing you want to do is you want to overbake. So if you feel like you're checking a little too much, no, guys. It's always better to check more than less. All right. Mine's looking very brown and toasty on top. I don't know how.
Mine is looking very mushy.
Okay.
Like, that's not even crumb. That's liquid.
So I'm going to wipe off the skewer I used. Being so scientific and using the skewer I used. I'm going to poke my bread in different places. Oh, mine's done.
So yours comes out clean?
Mine's coming out really clean. I'm going to show everybody at home so you can see. Very clean. My skewer is completely clean, which means mine is done. And I'm glad that I actually checked it 5 minutes. Yours has a little bit of crumb still left.
No, that's like not even crumb. That's liquid.
Yeah, that needs to go back in. I would say at least another 5 minutes. We're going to hang out, though, while Melissa still has hers in the oven.
I feel like, can I ask a question? I may have added too much peanut butter, and therefore it's like not going to get, to the consistency of the bread at the same temperature. Should I lower the temperature and cook it longer?
No, leave it at the same temp, but you will have to cook it longer. I don't think the peanut butter.
My bread is now fully brown, like even though I put foil on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that adding the peanut butter, and Mary can correct me if I'm wrong, it probably would have just added more baking time, but the internal temperature that you're using, especially because everyone's ovens are different, you could put it in, I could put it in my oven for 45 minutes and be done. You could put it in and be done in 55. Christine could put hers in and be done in 35 because of just where we are and the way that our ovens are working. So I think yours is perfectly fine. The peanut butter, it should have melted. If you were looking at the texture of your batter and it seemed off before you put it in, then I'd be a little bit worried. But I think when I saw it, and I don't know if anybody else saw it as well, if they can chime in if they can, it looked perfectly okay. And mine is actually pretty brown on top. So I would let this cool. I'll show everyone at home. Mine is pretty brown. What's going to happen is I'm going to have to flip it upside down because this is backwards because it's one of those cake pans that, everything's on the bottom. So you can go ahead and eat this as is. When it cools down, you can take it out and dust it with powdered sugar if you want and serve it if you want to be a little fancy and kind of decorative about it. Or you can just eat it as is. Mine is covered in jelly. I feel like adding any extra sugar would just be a little bit sweet. But I have to cut into it to check. And mine's too hot. I'm going to have to pull mine on a wire rack. I'm gonna take mine and cool it on a wire rack, actually. So my wire rack is behind me, so that's where I'm gonna put my bread. How's everybody else's? Christine got hers out of the oven. Mary's still commenting. How is everybody else's? Melissa's is still waiting. I'm gonna put mine on.
It's waiting. I'm gonna actually jump off and jump back on and see if then I can see the comments.
Oh, fair. Yeah, Mary, I think Mary is right. She was thinking that perhaps the peanut butter ratio could have affected the way that the bake is happening for Melissa's side, because she added a little bit more peanut butter than I did in the beginning. However, it might not be. It might just be her oven. It could be the fact she's also using a glass pan versus what I was using. I'm using an aluminum. That also changes things too, depending on what you're using, what kind of pan you're using. Will affect the temperature, because it's going to internal temperature will be different for everything. And again, Mary, you can fact check me on that. I have no scientific reasoning as far as that is concerned. I'm going to go ahead and add back in Melissa. I'll give it a minute so Melissa can go and try to see if she can check the comments, because she wanted to read the comments, and then I'm going to add her back in. If you can see the comments already, Melissa, and you want back in, just comment again and I'll go ahead and add you back in. Oh, good. Everyone else is making stuff. Okay, hold on. I'm just going to go ahead and add Melissa back in, everyone. Everyone watching on Facebook. Oh, good. Okay, so everyone that's checking it out and they're trying it. Did you see comments?
I did. Yes. Thank you for advising me to live dangerously, Mary. I will continue to do so.
So everyone who might have just joined, which could be fair, we are waiting for breads to come out of the oven. If your bread is coming out of the oven, and I think I mentioned this before, but if I didn't mention it during this time of baking, if you're baking something with us today, please take a photo of it and please tag Melissa and I, because we would love to see how your breads turned out. I just want to make sure, and hopefully everything's turning out really great for you all, and you're trying it and it's delicious. Again, this is the first time I made it, so hopefully I didn't steer you guys wrong. Melissa's still waiting for hers. Maybe I steered her wrong. We're gonna find out. Mary,
I did not turn the timer on this time, so we'll find out. Like, I don't know how.
Oh my God, maybe I should turn on the timer for you. I'll get my.
I just realized that, but I'll check it again. I feel like, and I saw that Mary commented, so Brian handed me his phone that had all the comments on it, so I could see that. Oh, also I can see, oh gosh, okay. I'm like, where's that weird light coming from? A lightsaber, obviously, in the kitchen.
Oh, that's cool.
So that the peanut butter to flour ratio, my peanut butter to flour ratio might be off, and that could be affecting my bake. So we'll find out.
Oh, Christine says that Bill says that the bread gets 2 thumbs up. That is great news. Yay. I don't know why I clap like that, Christine, but you get a clap. Like that was awkward. But I honestly think, guys, and we talked about this a little bit before when we were baking originally, is that at this point in the kinds of ways that we're doing baking, we're not being super, super extremely precise. We're substituting ingredients. We're experimenting together. So everyone's breads are going to be different because, just based on, your ovens, just based on the pans that you're using, based on your ingredients even. If you're using certain kinds of flour, that will, change things around. Maybe your milk, your eggs, your yogurt, like all these different things are going to affect the way that you make things. So the fact that it's taking us different times to make, perfectly okay. And Catherine, really, Dace, your bread looks amazing. I just saw a photo. That's fantastic. That actually, that's not too bad. Just a couple crumbs.
But no, it's not crumbs. It's like liquid.
Oh.
I feel like we have a sitch. I feel like we have a situation.
Did you go ahead and check it in multiple places or just the same place?
Like similar near places. Hold on. I'll clean this off.
Okay. So Melissa is checking her bread. It looks like it's still a little bit liquidy.
Yeah, definitely
joined.
liquidy
Hello,
in like
Dawn.
every place.
Yeah, okay. So this is what I'm going to do to troubleshoot for that. Is if you're so she's baking in a glass pan, and Mary can go ahead and double check me, because she's baking in a glass pan. That will affect the baking time because of the way that the material is made. So I would put yours back in. If you think the brown is too much, put the foil on top. Rotate your pan halfway, so it's a 180.
Okay.
And go ahead and put it back into your oven. Keep it at the same temp. It should be, I believe have we been baking at 350, guys? I believe we've been baking at 350.
Yes.
I don't even know if I turned off my oven. I didn't turn off my oven. I'm going to cause a house fire. I didn't turn off my oven. 350. And I would just go ahead and check it, like every couple minutes. Because, like I said, everyone's baking
2 minutes
are
like
different.
5. Like, I check it every 2 minutes, every 5 minutes. Gross. So 2 minutes, 5 minutes.
I did that thing again where I forgot to plug in.
Ten more? Okay. I'm listening to Mary.
Yeah, I would do 10 more.
I just turned my temperature up instead of my timer.
Guys, I did that thing where I forgot to plug in my phone.
Okay, thank you, Mary. 10 more minutes. So if people are not drinking quarantinis or baked-tinis, are you having coffee, champagne, water? What are you drinking?
I'm just drinking water, and I disappeared because I forgot to, in the beginning of this process, I forgot to plug in all of my, all the technology. My phone, my computer, nothing was plugged in, and my battery keeps on dying. So everyone that keeps on getting interruptions, sorry. And they come together. We are actually baking live, and so you're waiting for all our ovens to bake. So welcome back, Melissa. This is hour 3. We are in hour 3. This is actually, I would say, the longest bake we have ever had in the history of our we've only had 3 episodes. Of our 3 episodes. Melissa, take a bow. You were on with me for 3 hours. Yeah. Everyone at home that have been that is watching, this is the beginning of hour 3. So the fact that you're still here and that you're watching, and it's now 5, oh, actually, no, it's 2, hour 2, 5:08. Congratulations. We are now past the 2-hour mark. I take it back, past the 2-hour mark. So hello, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to my kitchen in Brooklyn. Welcome back to Melissa in California. And all the people that were baking with us and are still trying to figure out if, Melissa's is going to come out pretty good. We're all in this together, guys. We're going to do this together.
I feel like, what are my risks? This is what I need to know. What are my risks of the underdone peanut butter bread?
I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, Mary, and even Christine, who teaches science, I feel like you could get some sort of strange kind of salmonella-like poisoning.
Possibly.
Yeah. So I would not eat it if it was liquid. I think it just needs to stay in the oven. If yours takes a little bit longer to bake, I think you're going to be okay. And I honestly think, too, that how much extra peanut butter did you add, Melissa?
Eyeball amount.
Do you think it was more than a cup?
It might have been more than a cup. I don't feel like it was significantly more than a cup because I was attempting to measure a cup. So.
Oh, Mary says you're fine. The bacteria will be killed.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so you're gonna be okay.
Yeah. Also, I think the fact if I added too much Nutella, that If that would
No, that's definitely not going to do anything to it. No,
okay.
because you're using the Nutella as sort of like an interior as a spread. And because you were using it like that, instead of mixing it in and incorporating it's more of like a topping, and that will not affect the baking time of it. So my friend Sean just joined. Welcome, Sean. You've completely missed us baking. Melissa in California and I here in New York, in Brooklyn, have been baking the peanut butter bread. This is now our past 2 hours now, because live baking happens without the magic of TV, where you can't take a finished product out of the oven like a minute after you put it in. We are doing this live, guys. This is live baking. And also, how many cocktails have you had, Melissa, while you've been waiting with us?
I mean, I'm at like, I feel like I've teetered over half of a bottle, right? Like, it's a bottle of wine, sparkling wine.
That's fine.
That's over half, right?
I think it's about over half.
Yeah, so that's where we are right now. So if this bread takes much longer, I'm going to have to roll myself home where I already am.
Yeah. So I see John has joined back in. John, Melissa and I have topped the hours that we've spent. We are now past the 2-hour mark. So in baking. Oh, that's so nice. Thanks, Sean.
Have new friends. Love it.
Well, that's also because we've been live baking for over 2 hours, and I think by this point, if Melissa and I cannot chat, we are just sad little hosts. No. But we're doing great. I mean, I think the drama training is coming in handy, Melissa. I think that's giving us stamina right now.
Improv. Also, I have zero concern by the fact I licked both of my mixer beaters clean of raw batter. I feel like my concern about a raw dough is very minimal.
That's fair. Well, technically, Mary science corrected me for everyone watching at home and maybe not scrolling through the comments. I told Melissa that she might get maybe some salmonella if hers was undercooked. And Mary corrected me and said, no, the bacteria would have been killed by the baking. So it would just be raw and underdone.
So Mary said she likes seeing me sloshed, so I'm going to keep pouring.
I've only been drinking water, and I feel like I should not have. I think next time I'm just going to open a bottle of wine as we go. We should do boozy baking. I don't know why I didn't think of that to begin with.
I almost thought of that. Like, everyone should BYO quarantini.
That's a good idea. Maybe should we make quarantinis the next time before we start the bake? I might actually take now.
I feel like my results would be the same. Like, it's not going to get any better or worse.
I know. I was thinking of actually taking my bread out of, so my pan is actually still, it's warm, but it's not too warm. And I was thinking maybe I can flip it out of the pan, but I'm going to play it safe because we're still waiting for Melissa's to come out, and I'm going to leave mine cooling on my wire rack. But for everyone that is 30 yeah. But Christine's is done. I think Melissa Baker is drinking some vodka Baileys. So she's having a good time.
Hello.
So welcome everyone for
Mary is suggesting baked. I have asthma. I don't know how that marijuana works.
Yeah. Also, hi Ruby. Ruby out there is going to be with me next week as we try to tackle a gluten-free recipe by using almond flour. That's going to be fun times, guys. That's going to be fun times.
Can you provide alternate ingredients if we don't have almond flour?
Yes. Definitely. Oh, thanks. Yeah, we're still waiting for Melissa's to come out of the oven for those who have just joined. We have baked our bread. That's a great timer. That's a great light. That's the lightsaber. We're baking peanut butter bread. I put mine in an Angel food cake pan just to show you guys like different pans that you can use. You don't have to necessarily use, like I said, the things that there are in recipes. If you just have loaf pans, if you just have round pans, use whatever you've got at home. Don't go out and buy things. Like, use what you've got. So Melissa's going to check hers.
In a minute and 20 seconds, or should I check it now?
You can check it out. Go check it out. Why not? Melissa Baker, yours is done. Awesome. So Christine's was done. Melissa Baker's, like, Catherine has a photo. She was feeding it to her son. Mine is out of the oven. Mine feels okay. Here, I'll show you guys. It looks kind of scraggly because it's not out of the. I can't wait to actually take this out of the pan to see how this turns out. I am so curious to see how this tastes because, as you know,
we have rum. which is different than liquid.
Oh, that's great.
So it's an improvement?
That needs another 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Well, you know, this is the point where, Mary, I don't know if you can check glass pans versus aluminum pans. What is the baking time differential? Do we need to allocate more time for glass pans? This is a great actual question for the next time, too, that we make things, because I know a lot of people at home have glass pans because you use it for other things like casseroles and things like that, and you don't need multiple pans for a lot of things. And I know it does alter the baking time. Sometimes you need more time, sometimes you need less time, maybe you need higher heat. But because I'm using an aluminum pan, I think most everyone uses an aluminum pan. Melissa was using a glass pan. I think hers is taking a little bit longer. But what's great about hers is she can actually see the entire browning process all around. Anyone that's using aluminum pans at home, we can't see that while we're baking. We can only trust what's happening on the top, and we can't actually see the outside, and only when we go ahead and do things. So the glass retains far longer than metal will because of these properties, better baked. Oh, Melissa, yours might be the best out of all of ours.
But she said batter baked, so I feel like the batter is gonna bake.
I think it's
better baked.
Batter baked. Everyone that's just joined in, we are making peanut butter bread. I don't even know if people might be watching on Facebook, and if you are, kudos to you. We've passed the 2-hour mark. We're on a marathon of bread baking, quick breads.
And for the record,
Melissa,
no
Baker, and Christine, if you have breads, I want to see photos. That's an ask as a friend. The glass takes longer.
Yes, but is it better, Mary? Is it better?
We're putting Mary to work right now. Since Mary's our client's expert, she is actually going to work doing our researching for us and letting us know. And versus being snarky.
Drinking anything.
But I love the Stark. The Stark is great. The Stark is great, Maris. Mary, of course, you're doing a job.
Of course it's better, or of course you're drinking something, or of course we're putting you to work.
I know there's so many things we can connotate because she's not visually with us, Melissa.
Because she doesn't want to be on video.
I know. Oh, so for those that are checking it out, I think, aw, you're sticking with us to the bitter end. To the bitter end, guys.
I'll get a little more splash just for you, Mary.
I don't think.
Okay, so wait. Once we can we interview you more? I have 2 minutes and 52 seconds.
Sure.
Okay, great. So your work day is done. You've told us a little bit about that. We talked about playlists. You work in the music industry. And then your work day is over. What does that look like?
So I've been toying around, as if we haven't been toying around with recipes for baking. I've actually been looking at other things that we can bake together, which is what I've been doing research on after work. I've also been making dinner. You know what? I thought I'd be reading a lot more books, but I found that I've been reading less during this quarantine because most of the time I would be reading if we were commuting, like on the trains and things like that. And I found that I have been baking more. That makes sense. Cooking more, but reading less, and I've been watching TV more. So I feel like I've been watched a whole bunch of stuff. Hi, Colleen, who just joined. I've just been watching like a whole bunch of TV. So it's like, I thought to myself that maybe I would take up a new hobby. I told myself at one point that I would take a language course, but I haven't done that yet. I feel like the days blend together though. I don't know how it's going for you, Melissa.
Yeah, someone did a Journey parody song that was like, I want to know what day it is. And I feel like that's pretty accurate. I mean, so I alternate between light to medium terror, right? Which is like my husband is directly caring for COVID patients, and then he's high risk and I'm high risk, and that's terrifying. Oh, also, every single hospital is short of PPE right now. So if you think your local hospital has sufficient supplies, they're probably still asking people to reuse their N95 masks. So light to medium terror is like my baseline. And then I find myself doing things like food, TV that I love. I don't want to learn anything right now. I don't want to like stress myself. I don't want to like grow as a person. I just want to like chill and be comforted and yeah. And then also we've been connecting more with people nearby. So like we have a neighbor with disabilities. So it's like, does she have what she needs? And, you know, Clorox wipes and eggs and milk and stuff like that. So trying to like help each other out. So I feel like there's a community vibe as well that has come through this whole time. But yeah, I don't want to learn a language. I don't want to grow.
I feel like, well, today, I mean, this is the first, actually, I would say this is like the first new recipe. Oh,
Very cool.
From the comments, Catherine's husband is a pilot and he's been flying PPE for China and New Zealand. That's fantastic. I think that's great. Yeah, like I feel like I'm like with Melissa. So Melissa's out in California. I'm here in Brooklyn, New York. We're baking together. She's using a glass pan. Her bread is taking a little bit longer, but we're sticking with her. Mine is out of the oven. But this bread that I started to make today, I have never made before. So all the breads that we're making today, we're all making for the first time together. I have no idea if it's good. So hopefully it is. The feedback so far has been that they've been pretty good. And I'm hoping that everybody turns out the way that you want it to.
It's clean.
Oh my gosh. Melissa's is done, you guys. This is the moment we have been waiting for. We are at 22 minutes past the hour of 2 hours, and Melissa's bread is done. And that means we've come to the end of our time together.
You want to see this glory, this masterpiece?
Show it to us. Oh, it looks so good. That looks delicious. I like the M. The M really turned out well. I think
it was a swirl, but it's an M. Yay!
So everybody that made stuff, if you made something, please take a photo of it. Send it to Melissa and I if you don't have social media and you don't want to like post it on social media or you don't want to tag us. If you can tag us, do it if you're posting on social media. Let us know how it tastes. Let us know how it worked out. I would love to know personally. I'm going to try mine and probably, I think it probably needs maybe an hour or so to cool before I cut into it. It's probably going to taste really good warm though. I have a feeling it might taste good pretty warm. So I might cut into it a little bit beforehand. But everyone's bakes thus far have turned out pretty good. So I'm very excited. And Melissa,
Mary said mine looks like poop. So
I think it looks great. So Melissa, thank you so much for hanging out with me for like 2 hours. Mary, thank you for fielding the calls, and everybody out there for sticking with us for over 2 freaking hours to live bake. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope everyone's like bakes turned out really well. I can't let us know what Brian thinks about it, Melissa. Enjoy your cocktail teeny, your quarantine.
Yeah, I mean, if I can eat some of this before Brian steals the whole loaf, I understand that that's what's about to happen. So I hope you guys all have a wonderful weekend.
Oh, bye everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again. Probably we're seeing you next week actually with Ruby, and we're going to make almond cake. More information about that as the week goes on. All right, bye. Have a safe weekend. Stay safe.